candidates had just received the first question. Mr. Jardine, just a reminder, you're up first, followed by Mr. Malone. Based on what you are hearing from your constituents, what do you view as the two major issues in Ward 2, and how will you address each?
People of this town are paying a lot of money in taxes. Year after year after year, our taxes going up. We're getting less and less in services, but we're paying more and more and getting less. We are hemorrhaging tax dollars everywhere. Our infrastructure is falling apart. We used to have a fantastic Friendship Festival. It's going down the drain. Our bingo funds are not like it used to be. Our town, the people do have less and less vote or voice at town council. Whatever they say, it means nothing. They don't have a voice. The voice is, the 4 people on council now are Chamber of Commerce people. They're not regular working people. The working people don't have a voice. And Chamber of Commerce wants one more person on council, and they want that to be a Chamber of Commerce person.
Thank you. We've got some financial challenges paying for the roads in the condition we'd like to have them when we wake up in the morning and go for a drive. We'd like to make sure that our sewers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and some of them aren't. It would be nice to have a top-notch hospital within easy reach. And the reality is that there's a combined problem there with those two major issues, and that's the financial needs. And the reality is we have to raise those funds. We need them, period. Thank you.
What I'm hearing door to door has not changed since I went door to door a few months ago during the mayoral campaign. The two are infrastructure and taxation, and they go hand in hand. It's no doubt now that as we drive around our streets, the potholes have reemerged. The only thing snow is good for is covering them up and making our roads nice and smooth through the wintertime. And I'm proud that during the term of council that I served, as well as the first budget that was just passed, additional dollars have been set aside for infrastructure. And we need to continue to do that and accelerate the process. Secondly, speaking of taxation, the only way that we can get away from constant tax increases is to spread out the cost. That means bringing more people to our community, more development, and more commercial enterprise. If we can spread out the cost that way that the current increases don't have to be absorbed by the residents in place now. You'll never get away from an increase in taxes, but the best we can do is spread it out to mitigate that burden. Thank you.
Looks like we're all touching on the same plan. First one is the neighborhood, of course, and that affects everything from infrastructure, which includes roads, parks, the conditions of our roads, where our future subdivisions are going to be, where our urgent care center is going to be, and will the South Niagara Hospital get built. So those things all deal with that. Of course, secondly comes taxation. Everybody wants to keep taxation down. When you look at the people in Ward 2, a lot of them are on fixed incomes. So, you know, every time a utility bill goes up, it affects them tremendously.
Just a reminder, Mr. Molitani would be first, followed by Mr. Pacero. The second question, if additional stimulus funding for infrastructure is announced in the future, what or where in Ward 2 would you advocate the money to be used?
Is that the obvious question, Ward 2? Okay, thank you. I have to refer back to the first question. The reality is, you know, we've had challenges. We have real challenges. We have sewers that weren't done right. We have them in Ward 2. We have roads with potholes, and your suspensions and my suspension and our pocketbooks are paying for those. Those are daily needs. That's really where it should go. It should go to our daily needs. Of course, we could always improve services if there's room. But again, when we're doing that, we're going to be looking at our needs rather than our wants. And that's going to be my priority. Thank you.
Infrastructure stimulus funding has to go towards projects that are shovel-ready, meaning the detailed design has already been done and you're waiting for funding. One of the projects in Ward 2 that I'd recommend consideration of is the extension of Hagee Street through to Concession. This would eliminate transport trucks from going through the Birdie Street neighborhood, and one of the reasons why that intersection is so dangerous. The total cost, I believe, was around $600,000, and from my time as Chair of Infrastructure, I can tell you that work is not slated to begin until 2023. But if infrastructure money became available and we could cut that by 2/3, I think that for $200,000 advance in capital funding, that'd be a very worthwhile project. Not only would we eliminate the truck traffic going through that neighborhood, but we could facilitate future Rich Products expansion as well, which is one of the reasons why we spent the money on eliminating the interchange off to Concession. So that would be my priority if that were to become available. Thank you.
Two things that I can see happening in Ward 2 is new subdivisions, hopefully some industrial lands that are there that can be opened up for development to create jobs in Fort Erie. And secondly would be the Birdie Concession intersection. It's certainly a high traffic area, lots of accidents. We know that the signs that are up there, and that work has to be done sooner, hopefully, than later.
If by some miracle, I don't see it happening unless we have another recession. The stimulus funding, there's one area that there is opportunities, and that's behind where the beer store is. That it will probably be bulldozed down. Zeller's is no longer there. The Eagle is no longer there. Giant Tiger, rather. And Bank of Nova Scotia, well, they scarp it. That could be, I would say, we need more housing density. Maybe housing for lower income people would be good. Senior citizens complex in that area. But basically, if we have money for infrastructure, the whole of Fort Erie needs help. We are a basket case. Buffalo is booming. Niagara Falls, they can't print building permits out fast enough. Niagara Lake, booming. And we're a basket case.
Question 3, Mr. Pacero, followed by Mr. Graber. How will you balance the responsibilities as a Ward 2 councillor and the responsibility as a representative of the town of Fort Erie as a whole?
Fortunately, I already have the experience of having to balance those responsibilities. As a counselor for your ward constituents, you're their voice at town hall, you advocate for them, you fight for them, and you get things done for them. As an elected official representing the town, you also have to focus on broader policies and initiatives. And sometimes the concerns of your local constituents and those broader policy initiatives don't quite mesh 100%. You always have to remember that no one part should ever be viewed as larger than the whole. My tenure on council gave me the skills to help council move the town forward as a whole while still listening to those constituents and mitigating their concerns. It's not a skill set you pick up on day one. It takes years to learn, and I'd be honored to apply that skill set for the residents of Ward 2. Thank you.
Affects the entire town of Fort Erie. So you have to take the large perspective in view at all times. But for Ward 2, you have to be in the community, listening to what the people have to say, and then act accordingly. We hope that we can always be advocates for them and for everyone in town. And I think it's an easy balancing job. You do it right, and let's hope that we can.
Ward 2, I have quite a few friends in Ward 2. I spend a lot of my time in Ward 2. I ran bingos in Ward 2 for over 30 years, except for the time I was in hospital. But I know what the concerns are, and most of them, day-to-day living is a hardship. Getting through the winter is a hardship. My allegiance would only be to the people of my ward first, and the rest of the town second. If it's good for the town and for the residents of Ward 2, I'm on board. I want to keep their taxes down. It's ridiculous, the amount of money that we're spending, and we're not getting any value for it. It's the black hole. We're pouring millions and millions of our dollars. We need a theater like a hole in the head. So I'm for my people. If they elect me, I started out here. That's who I'm for.
Very clearly, I'll have to act as an ombudsman for the people in Ward 2. I'll have to answer the phone calls and help with your challenges. As a representative for the town of Fort Erie, I've got several things in mind that, quite frankly, I'd already started chasing after the election a few months ago. And they were bringing models of success to this town. Models like the hospital in Toronto that for the last many decades has been building up trust funds so that it could run independently of controls. Bike touring programs like the successful ones in Amsterdam and now recently in Toronto that should be on this parkway and bringing us revenue. And those symbiotic relationships like having higher education and a successful racetrack that take care of each other in terms of providing seasonal employment. Thank you very much.
With the town's position being to support a new Niagara South Hospital at the Queen Elizabeth Way and Lions Creek Road, what are your thoughts on the future utilization for the Douglas Memorial Hospital property?
We look at the hospital now, it's being used as the palliative care center for the region. It's being used as an urgent care center. Certainly, as we move forward, I'm sure that there will be thoughts coming forward as to how we can best utilize that property, whether a new urgent care center is needed, whether the palliative care center needs to be moved. But I think those are two distinct services that are provided to the community, and I would encourage that they continue.
I'm in favor of the new hospital in Niagara South, mostly because I live only 10 minutes away from it. The new hospital of St. Catharines was built in a god-awful place. Even the people who live in St. Catharines, and I got relatives that live there, it's one heck of a job to get to that stupid place. So the faster we get that hospital, we're online. We have $3 million that we, by hook or by crook, we're going to pay towards that hospital. That we need an urgent care, we need a triage unit here. It has to be here. We are one of the busiest crossings in North America to the United States and Canada. We will have probably God willing, in the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to have 30, 40, maybe 100,000 people coming here. And if they get ill or a heart attack, they need to help. So we got to support a triage center here.
Just as I need your blessing to be the counselor for Ward 2 for matters relevant to all, like Douglas, I need your guidance. That being said, I've already declared I'm looking for funding to make that, to give that hospital some independence so it can function for Fort Erie without having to deal with the guidelines that the Ontario government imposes upon it. Thank you.
This term of council, much like the last, needs to be relentless in the pursuit that one of the 2 new urgent care centers approved by the Ministry for South Niagara gets located right here in Fort Erie. There's many services currently offered within Douglas that limit the travel necessary to receive the services, and I'll advocate that those services, as well as diagnostics, a lab, pre- and post-op clinics, form part of a new medical facility at that urgent care center. And it should be designed as a multi-use medical facility. There's no reason that it can't remain where it is currently. Once the new hospital is built at Lions Creek Road, I'll champion the use of the Douglas site as a seniors retirement community, very similar to Port Colborne's Portal Village. Our population is aging, and we should be looking at every opportunity we can to ensure that people who have called Fort Erie home their whole lives can stay here and transition into their senior years. Thank you.
Jardine, you'll be up first on this one. The entire eastern and southern boundary of Ward 2 is water. What is your stance on waterfront development, and how will you work with your colleagues to achieve this outcome?
I think this question was made for me. I'm with the Green Party, and I've been with them for about 6 years. I do research for the Green Party of Niagara, and we live on 2 sides of water. We have to stop dumping raw sewage. I don't know if you know Hagersville and Jarvis and Haldimand County. They could not drink water out of the lake because it was toxic, it was poison. They were told not to use the water to wash your car. Waverly Beach had tons and tons of the toxic green algae, and Rick Schuler, not knowing how dangerous this stuff was, arranged to have a whole bunch of people move tons and tons of that algae. We have to stop dumping sewage into our waterways, and we have to do it soon because that lake is getting more dangerous. The Niagara River is getting filled with more toxins, and who drink that? We drink that.
great news is we've got a super town council. One of the first people I spoke to after the election was the mayor, and I told him my opinion of the council, and I knew that that was a good working crew, and I was prepared to work with them. And the reality is, in this situation, I am 1 vote in 7, so the answer is certainly not going to apply to just me. And quite frankly, the answer to this question is actually in it. How will you work with your colleagues to achieve this? The reality is we have to work with our colleagues on this, whether it be the marina or biking or Niagara festivals and drawing them, using the water as the draw. The mayor from Niagara Falls spoke at the luncheon last week and mentioned how the falls was the draw, and we should expand from that. I agree with him. Let's use it. Let's partner. Let's get those tourism ideas out there and working. Thank you.
I've never believed waterfront development to be a yes or no proposition. It needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. However, there's limited opportunity for waterfront development within the boundaries of Ward 2 because most of the lands are within the ownership and control of the Niagara Parks Commission. So the conversation is not necessarily about development of these lands, but mutually beneficial opportunities to utilize these lands. And a successful example is the Riverwalk District within the South End, a partnership between the town, the Parks Commission, and the business owners. It maintains the natural characteristics while extending commerce. I'd like to see the Riverwalk extended all the way over to Freedom Park. I know those conversations have been underway for some time now. Conversations with the NPC need to be had about future opportunities to utilize their lands for the benefit of us, the Fort Erie residents, as well as our visitors and tourists. Thank you.
Ward 2 is going to be pretty hard to get at the water because it's owned by private individuals. But certainly when opportunities come up, we certainly want to take advantage of those to open up beach areas wherever we can. A lot of areas have been cleaned up. I know the Shoreline Association has been working with the Riverwalk, the marina, and other things in order to open up land that is close to the water. Probably the biggest thing that I see is Niagara Parks Commission spends a lot of money in Niagara Falls, yet Mather's Arch is just left the way it is. There's no beautification effort being done around there. I think those lands could look as beautiful as around the Butterfly Observatory, and they need to spend some money down here.
That's going to bring us to a quick intermission. Again, the washrooms are just down here. I'm sure Patrick, if you need to go to the principal's office, Patrick knows where that is. And we'll reconvene in just under 10 minutes.